November 21st, 1999. It's an overcast, dreary day off the eastern coast of Japan, about 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Across the country, thousands of kids are firing up Pokemon Silver for the very first time. For many, it was another chapter in their growing love for Pokemon, and one of those kids was Shoma Honami. Little did he know, nearly 16 years later, that same love for Pokemon would take him all the way to the top of the world, and he'd do it with his favorite Pokemon. But for now, he's just a kid, battling Karen of the Elite Four and reading her famous words.
Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon, that is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with their favorites.
Hey champ, my name is Professor Josh and I specialize in Pokemon VGC history and lore. If that kind of thing interests you, check out my channel where I dive into the most iconic moments, legendary trainers, and unforgettable battles in VGC. In today's video, we're breaking down 5 incredible times when trainers made history with their favorite Pokemon. We'll revisit Shoma's story soon. His 2015 win is unforgettable, but there's no need to wait until 2015 to find moments that prove Karen might have been right all along. It's 2012 and players are pouring into the Hilton Waikoloa village for the 4th Pokemon Video Game World Championship. In a sea of top-tier threats like Thundurus and Heatran stands one lone man. Or should I say, one lone wolf, with his favorite Pokemon, Exeggutor. Wolfe's Exeggutor, brilliantly named Kinderswag, wasn't just there for laughs. He built it to be unusually bulky, taking full advantage of its harvestability, which let it recycle its citrus berry again and again. Thanks to that bulk, Kinderswag, that's a name straight out of 2012 Pokemon. Thanks to that bulk, Kinderswag could survive hits from powerhouses like Tyranitar and Latios, 2 Pokemon that should have been final bosses for something with coconuts for heads. But if you think Wolfe brought his favorite Pokemon just for its bulk, then you'd be kidding yourself.
With no special attack EVs, Exeggutor still OHKOs almost every Politoed and Rotom W out there with the sheer power of Leaf Storm. Exeggutor has the same special attack stat as Thundurus or Zapdos, and with 140 base power stab, Leaf Storm can tear holes in anything it hits.
With the move Power Swap, Wolfe's Exeggutor could pass along special attack drops from Leaf Storm to his opponent, or steal stat boosts from Pokemon trying to set up in front of it. Years later, Wolfe would explain that this team was built largely around Exeggutor, not because it was the strongest Pokemon, but because, with the right support, it could do something no other Pokemon could. It had a unique role, and Wolfe knew how to make it shine. He would pilot this Exeggutor all the way to the finals of the 2012 Pokemon World Championship, defeating top players like Abel Sands and Sajin Park along the way. That historic run, unfortunately, ended in the final match, but a second place finish at Worlds? That's no small feat. Very few Pokemon can say they've made it that far, and even fewer can say they did it with a trainer who proudly calls them their favorite Pokemon of all time. What a run for a Pokemon most people would have written off, even back then. But as it turns out, Wolfe wasn't the only one making magic that weekend with their personal favorite. And honestly, it'd be rude not to talk about them too. Ray Rizzo, only player to ever win 3 Pokemon World Championships, clinched his 3rd title in 2012, facing off against none other than Wolfe Glick and his Exeggutor, and he did it with his favorite Pokemon of all time, Hydreigon. Unlike Kinderswag, this Pokemon wasn't there to play games. No nicknames, no gimmicks, just business. And Hydreigon's business was taking KOs. With max special attack and nearly max speed, Ray's Hydreigon packed serious firepower. And with the Dragon Gem boosting its already powerful Dragon-type moves, it could drop almost anything standing in its way. Fairy types wouldn't exist until Pokemon X and Y in 2013. So back then, Hydreigon's combo of Dragon and Dark-type attacks hit hard. In 2012, top threats like Cresselia and Scizor dominated the meta, making Hydreigon's coverage of Dark Pulse and Flamethrower absolutely essential. Ray and his Hydreigon had to battle through some tough opponents, including Junpei Yamamoto and American player Joe Pulowski, who was fresh off a second place finish at the US National Championship. but Ray proved that with the right team and the right prep, even your favorite Pokemon can go all the way. And by the way, this wasn't even Hydreigon's first standing at the top. 1 year earlier at the 2011 World Championship in San Diego, a very different Hydreigon took the crown. This one, built bulky using Substitute to block incoming damage and status conditions, it played patiently, wore opponents down, and helped its trainer claim the championship title. And that trainer? Also Ray Rizzo. Champs, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. While researching, I actually came across a ton of stories where players made historic runs with their favorite Pokemon. These 5 are just my personal picks, but honestly, I could easily make a part 2 if you wanted. And yes, I'm talking to you. My plan is to move on from this topic for now, but if you want a part 2, let me know by hitting that like button. I usually don't set like goals, and this won't be a regular thing, but for this video, I'm going to make an exception. If this video hits 200 likes, I'll make a part 2 soon. The 2013 Pokemon World Championship saw the rise of some seriously powerful threats, with Pokemon like Tyranitar, Heatran, Excadrill dominating the meta. Players were locked in an arms race to find the fighting type Pokemon that could carry them to the top. Most players, including the eventual Masters Division champion, turned to Conkeldurr. It had solid bulk and access to the fast-hitting move Mach Punch. But one division down, Hayden McTavish may have taken the whole arms race idea a little too literally by bringing his favorite Pokemon, the four-armed menace Machamp, to the biggest tournament of the year. Hayden realized that Machamp's bulk wasn't all that different from Conkeldurr's, but thanks to its ability No Guard, Machamp's attacks would always land. This meant that big hitting moves like Dynamic Punch and Stone Edge, usually risky because of their low accuracy, became reliable tools in Hayden's game plan. But he didn't just bring Machamp to throw hands. He built it to be a support piece too. With a solid investment in HP and defenses, Hayden's Machamp could survive even psychic attacks from heavy hitters like Metagross and Latios. And that bulk came in handy, because on the road to the finals, Hayden would face down an army of them. In his final match against Ben Hickey, Machamp punched its way through the competition. Victory was just an arm's length away. Okay, I'm done. Maybe. Hayden and his favorite Pokemon Machamp showed that just because a Pokemon like Conkeldurr is popular doesn't mean it's the best fit for your team. On that day, Hayden held the winner's trophy high, and you could say Machamp turned out to be pretty handy. Champs, you're going to like this next one. 2014 brought one of the most powerful metas in Pokemon history. At the US Nationals in Indianapolis, Indiana, players flooded the field with top threats like Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Mawile, and of course, Mega Charizard. Mega Charizard was a problem. With massive stats and the ability to set up harsh sunlight to boost its own attacks, it quickly became one of the most dominant forces in the game. In response, rain teams started popping up everywhere to try and wash away the sun. This kicked off a full-on weather war, and players scrambled to either control the skies or counter the weather setters completely. Most turned to Pokemon like Politoed or Talonflame, but John Hugh, he turned to his favorite Pokemon, Lapras. Calling Lapras an off-meta pick at the time is a bit of an understatement. In fact, out of the entire US National Championship, the biggest tournament of the year besides Worlds, John's Lapras was the only one that showed up. Nicknamed Laputa, a nod to Castle in the Sky and Gulliver's Travels, John's Lapras ran a clever combo of the item Assault Vest and the Water Absorb ability. This combination let it completely wall out rain setters and their partners. And this Lapras didn't just sit there. With heavy investment in offense, John used Freeze Dry and Ice Shard to clean up threats that Lapras was built to check, giving the rest of his team time to set up without much harm. In a tournament report written up after the event, John Hugh mentioned that one of the best strategies for handling powerful special attackers was pairing Lapras with Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar would use Shadow Tag to trap opponents on the field and protect itself with Substitute, while Lapras chipped away at their HP, setting up Gengar for a big mid-game sweep. John used this combo in a third of his day 1 matches, but Even more impressively, he brought Lapras to nearly every game he played on day 2. Together, John and Lapras battled through an impressive lineup of opponents, including Simon Yip, Jonathan Rankins, and Jody Azzarelli. They rode that wave of momentum all the way to the semifinals, marking Lapras' best tournament performance ever at the time, and inspiring a wave of Lapras fans to follow in John's footsteps. Shoma Honami has always loved Pokemon. From those dreary, overcast days spent playing Pokemon Silver to the bright lights of the competitive stage, Shoma loved it all. Since 2009, he played in nearly every major circuit, building and piloting hundreds of teams. But it wasn't until 2015 that he saw an opportunity to go all the way to the world stage with his favorite Pokemon, Cresselia. At the time, the now infamous Chalk team had some popularity, especially in Japan. But believe it or not, before the 2015 World Championships, it wasn't really seen as anything special. Shoma, however, had a vision. Now champ, I'm actually working on an entire video all about Shoma Honami and the role he played in what is arguably the most famous team in VGC history. Look forward to that one soon. But for now, just know this: Chalk, a team made up of Cresselia, Heatran, Amoonguss, Landorus, and Kangaskhan, at the time was not the monster it's remembered as today, until Shoma made it one. In most builds at the time though, Cresselia played a bulky support role, using moves like Icy Wind and Trick Room to control speed or Helping Hand to boost a teammate's damage. But Shoma had a very different vision for their favorite Pokemon. By investing heavily in HP and special attack, Shoma's Cresselia wasn't just there to support. It could take a hit and fire back hard. With a moveset of Trick Room, Ice Beam, and Psychic, this Cresselia became a threat on its own, functioning as a sweeper under the Trick Room that it set up. It didn't just set up for its teammates, it softened up opponents' teams and sometimes won games outright. And with every win, Shoma didn't just prove the strength of Chalk. He proved that belief in your favorite can be more powerful than any meta. Armed with the then underestimated Chalk team, Shoma went on a Worlds run that no one saw coming. Names like Nikolai Zelensky, Seijin Park, and Daiki Moriyama fell as Shoma blazed a trail through some of the best players in the world. By the time Shoma stepped onto the World Championship stage, the entire Pokemon community was watching. With Shoma's victory, the legacy of Chalk teams was cemented. But perhaps even more importantly, the world witnessed something rare. A trainer winning the biggest tournament in the game's history with their absolute favorite Pokemon. After that performance, many fans were left wondering, what's next for Shoma and Cresselia?
I'm going to win and continue winning. Pokemon is forever.
Starter Pokemon are some of the most iconic in the entire franchise. For many players, they're the face of the game, the mascot of their own Pokemon journey. And for Jamie Boyt, that Pokemon is Serperior. Jamie always had a reputation for building creative and sometimes downright wild teams. So when he showed up at the 2018 Malmo regional tournament, players probably expected something a little unusual. But no one saw this team coming. Mega Charizard X instead of the more common Charizard Y, Alolan Persian, and of course, Serperior. Jamie's Serperior was anything but standard. With heavy speed investment in the move Leaf Storm, it could hit hard and hit fast. Thanks to its contrary ability, the usual drawback of Leaf Storm, losing 2 stages of special attack, became a boost instead. Every time Serperior used Leaf Storm, it got stronger, allowing it to take surprise one-hit KOs on bulky threats like Landorus. Taunt gave Jamie counterplay against setup strategies like Trick Room. But maybe the most interesting move on Serperior's kit was Swagger, a risky move that boosts a target's attack by 2 stages but also confuses them. Jamie used it in a clever way, swaggering his own teammates. By targeting his partner Pokemon instead of his opponent, he could supercharge their damage output. A real gambling man. In a team report, Jamie even detailed full game plans built around this self-swagger strategy.
And my game plan against Chansey was actually to self-swagger my Cresselia up to +6 and then Heavy Slam, because Heavy Slam doubles in power. Was it doubles in power? It definitely hit through Minimize. I can't remember if it doubles in power as well, but that was my plan going in against Chansey, to swagger my Cresselia up to +6.
With his trusty Serperior, Jamie powered through a gauntlet of strong opponents, defeating Teemu Mäkinen in top 8, Barry Anderson in top 4, and finally, Ben Markham in the championship match. Thanks in no small part to Serperior, Jamie claimed his 3rd regional title, making him one of the few players in history to ever do so. And in doing that, he proved something important. With the right trainer, a well-built team, and a little bit of luck, you can make history with your favorite Pokemon. Thanks for watching.
Pika pika.
Hey champs, here's a little honorable mention for my real ones who stick around till the end of the video. The 2024 NAIC champion Patrick Connors has mentioned in a few interviews that his favorite Pokemon is actually Urshifu. Now, saying Urshifu is your favorite kind of feels like saying Goku is your favorite Z fighter. You're not exactly rooting for the underdog, if you know what I mean, which is kind of ironic because Patrick Connors' rise to fame is one of the coolest underdog stories in VGC history. You can click the link if you want to see a full video on that. Now, regardless of how you feel about Urshifu, Patrick's version at the 2024 North American International Championship was actually pretty unique. He ran Coaching, a non-damaging support move that boosts his teammates' offense while holding a Choice Scarf, an item that locks Urshifu into the first move it uses, but boosts its speed. Yeah, it sounds pretty risky bringing a Pokemon that could be stuck using a support move, but that didn't stop Patrick from becoming the champion of what was at the time the biggest tournament of the year. And those wins weren't flukes, by the way. Patrick and his trusty Urshifu took down some of the biggest names in the game, including Shiliang Tang, Yan Sim, and of course, Aurelian Sola. So that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.